it's not just men putting pressure on men, it's women putting pressure on men too, isn't it? Expecting the man to do this, to do that, to be the provider, to pay the bills. How can we change that in society? I mean, this is a major problem.
It's very interesting that you're saying that, because I remember even growing up, my mother telling me, "Why are you crying like a woman?" And I'm like, so from there you can actually see that your mother will shape who you become, because you are not allowed to cry. Girls are allowed to cry. Girls are allowed to show emotions.
Right.
As a guy, you're not. If a boy beats you up in the streets, go back and beat him up. You can't
take it like
here.
a man.
Exactly. So these are the things that really shape, men to be what they are, because they can't show emotions. So it's a big of a problem.
It's big. You think about the lies that we get told growing up as men. For me, there are 4 big lies. Sex. You're judged as a man by how many sexual partners you can have. The more you have, the more of a man you are. It's a big lie, isn't it? Power. You have to be powerful, whether it's physical power, whatever. And the more power you have, the more of a man. Money. The car you drive defines the man you are. And then that final one, big boys don't cry. I mean, I'd love to unpack with you those 4 lies. Hi there, Craig Wilkinson here. You were Dangerous But Good, the podcast that talks about how we can be dangerous to whatever's bad in society and a force for good for whatever's good. I have a fantastic guest today, one I've been really looking forward to talking to, ex-professional footballer, a goalkeeper, played for many, many professional football teams. Silver Shabalala, fantastic to have you on board, brother.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
It's a great pleasure, man.
Sure.
You've played for a number of different professional soccer teams. Give us a few of the ones you played for.
Hey, I've been around, man. I turned professional in Jomo Cosmos. That's where I started. I mean, that's the University of South African Football.
Right.
If you've never played for Jomo Cosmos, you haven't been to the university. So I started at Cosmos, then moved to Dynamos, Black Leopards, Amazulu,
Fantastic.
So I retired at Amazulu in 2007.
Fantastic. Fantastic. How long was the career in soccer?
I would say 15 years.
15 years, eh?
Yeah.
And throughout the time, you had to keep super fit.
Eat
the right diet.
You got paid to be fit.
But here you are many years later and you're still looking fit and strong. Eh? Those guns are still there.
You know what? When I was still playing, I wasn't like this. I was very slim and, So, I think, it's at some point in your life, you have to keep going. You have to keep yourself good and healthy, So football actually teaches you all those things, how to look after yourself, So I did not stop there. I was soon after I stopped, just like any other guy will stop, and then they get big.
Well, so many do, eh? The stomach comes and the jowls come,
So, I mean, it's very difficult because, because when you were playing football, you really look after yourself because you have to be a certain weight and, certain type of fitness, those kind. But when you retire, you just let go of it.
There's no pressure on you anymore. You
There's
can
no
do whatever
pressure
you want.
At all. You can do as much as you can, eat as many burgers as you want. So, But I'm still keeping fit and, doing what I love doing. Once in a while, I play, with the legends. And that's it.
Fantastic. And you've had an amazing journey. I mean, tell us a little bit about how you got into soccer in the first place. I mean, it's not easy to rise in South Africa where it's highly competitive, so many people playing, to rise to the professional level.
Look, I mean, it's every young boy growing in Soweto, to be somebody in life because given, the history of this country where, there was violence, there was all these things, criminality and no order at all. But, as a youngster, football was the only thing that will, it will make you, get away from all these things, that are happening, So, football was an outlet. You would go and play football from morning until late.
Right.
To keep away from, stuff that was not really good things,
Right.
So, that's why I chose football.
But, choosing it's one thing, but rising up to a professional level, that takes a lot of passion, discipline, effort, and I guess natural talent as well.
To a certain extent it does, because I mean, especially if you've got people that you look up to, and I mean, we had, guys like, what's his name, Patson Banda, was a great Pirates goalkeeper. So every young star in Soweto would want to be like him. So
Right.
I mean, you look at people like Jomo Sono, Kaizer Mtaung, everybody wanted to be like them.
Yes.
So you also wanted, your township to be recognized that there is this guy that comes from this, township, was done so many amazing things. I mean, look at guys like Dr. Kumalo, Lucas Kadebe, Shoes Mushoe. They are just, a stone throw away from where I grew up in Deep Kloof Zone 3. So you look up to those guys and you want to be like them. So that was the motivation and the drive that, you want to do better and you want to be somebody, in your neighborhood, yeah.
But for every one young man who makes it onto a professional team, there are thousands that don't. I mean, what sets you apart from those that want to but don't make it?
Look, I mean, when it comes to sports, talent alone does not cut it.
Right.
You have to make a lot of sacrifices. When others are not watching, what are you doing? When others are doing other things, what are you doing? So, you really have to discipline yourself and tell yourself that you'll do extra stuff, unlike the other guys that, because I mean, if I look at my neighborhood, there were lots of talented youngsters who I thought they are better.
Right.
Because of the talent, the amount of talent that they had. But talent comes with hard work. So if you don't put in the work, it amounts to nothing.
Absolutely.
So, I think
that's a great lesson. Talent is not enough.
No,
talent,
it's not enough.
And that applies to
enough.
pretty much everything in life.
Everything you do.
You got to add to talent, hard work, determination.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And what was your driver? What drove you to do that extra work?
I wanted to be different. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be something, because I mean, if I look at my family history, no one has ever been out there,
Right.
No one has never been, like successful. So I wanted to be that guy, because I mean, I wanted to lift my family. I wanted to look after my family.
Fantastic.
So that was the only way to get out of,
Fantastic.
the poverty and, all those things that were happening at the time. Yeah.
I love that, Silver. I mean, we often teach men that our mandate as a man is to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Whatever went before us, if it was poverty, abuse, alcohol, whatever the case, our mandate as men is to say it stops with me.
Definitely.
I love that one comment that says, maybe you are the gift your bloodline's been waiting for. And I mean, you stepped up and you were that gift. How did that feel?
There's a lot of pressure that comes with all that, because you are the first to be this, you are the first to be that,
Right.
So it puts you in a very difficult position.
Pressure
where
cooker
a
situation.
lot of pressure, because you are the first to, to have a car.
Yeah.
In your family, you are the first to, to buy a house, for that matter, in the suburb or wherever, So it puts a lot of pressure on you. There's so much, demands and, so it puts a lot of pressure on you. But I mean, if you focus, I mean, you'll be able to, to pull through and be whoever that you want to be,
But it raises a very good question, because a lot of young men who do reach celebrity status and suddenly they have an income that no one in their family has ever vaguely experienced.
Yeah.
There are many challenges that they face. Suddenly the financial management's an issue. Suddenly girls are an issue, because so many women are knocking on your door. Suddenly you want all the nice cars, etc. Alcohol becomes an issue. I mean, how you've seen men fall into those temptations, eh?
I was part of that as well, because I fell into that trap as well, because you can't avoid it. Here you are. For the first time, you have 50,000 rand cash in your hands.
Right.
You've never seen that amount of money as a signing on fee.
Right.
So what you do with that, not even your father has ever had that kind of money. So it gives you power. It gives you the edge over everything you can think of. So if you don't use it right, then it will destroy you.
Right.
If I look at my life now and the kind of things that I have done, I was not a saint. I was crazy with money. I was crazy with buying 2 cars there. I don't need 2 cars, but those are the things, putting rims on your car, 40,000 rand of mag wheels, sound system, all those kind of, you don't need all that kind of noise, but you wanted to belong. You wanted people to see that you've arrived,
Right.
so we did all that, but it comes to a point where you really sit down and look at yourself and say, is this really what I want?
Right.
What is this giving me? What is this doing to me?
Yes.
So, but at the end of the day, we learn from our mistakes. But a lot of people don't come back
Right.
from their mistakes, So it's always good to learn from other people's mistakes.
If
as
you
well.
can. We don't like to do that as men, do we?
Definitely.
I mean,
yeah.
you must have seen some men fall and never come back as a result of that trap. Huh?
Yeah. A lot of guys did, fall and they never came back. I mean, if I look at my life, I mean, the girls, the travel, all these things. I mean, I've got 9 kids now from that era of football where you will have a child with every girlfriend that you have.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I mean, you look back and you think, no, it's life. But at the end of the day, the kids are there. You have to look after them.
Right.
You have to be a father. You have to be, you have a child in every province, So it's tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to step up as the father that you are,
Right.
and be there in their lives.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard being, at that level of, life,
And I mean, one of the big issues is there's a lack of mentors, isn't there? Teaching young men how to deal with these things in life. Would you say that's a major issue? You've become a tremendous mentor to many. But what was the turning point in your life?
I think this is, one of the things that I've learned over the years, that I did not have anyone that I could talk to, somebody that could guide me, somebody that could sit me down and say, you know what, you're earning this amount of money, why don't you do 1, 2, 3 with this money, invest, do this and that. No, you're just thrown in the deep end and
Right.
you have to look after yourself, So I think that was one of the things that made me decide, you know what, when I retire, I want to help these youngsters to, really plan for the future, because football is a short career.
That's right.
And there is a lot that happens. The money comes in fast,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes out very quickly as
Right.
well. So,
Right.
I mean, I think that motivated me to say, you know what, I need to change. I need to use my experience, my downfalls and my ups to actually
Yes.
guide, these youngsters to be better, sportsmen at the end of the day.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, there's another concept which is maybe quite unique to South Africa, and that's this whole concept of black tax, isn't it? That as soon as you are the first one in a community to start earning good money, and suddenly there's so many people to support, so many people are drawing you. How did you handle that? I mean, that's a real issue, isn't it?
Look, there's no way of running away from that. That's the reality. I mean, it still happens to me every time I go into my neighborhood, into my township. I'll make sure that I have 10, a large amount of 10 rands in my pockets, because by the time you get to the entrance end to where you're going, you've been stopped by 20 people asking you for 10 rand, 2 rand, 5 rand, 50 rand, So it's something that we cannot avoid.
Right.
But you have to find a way of, dealing with it and making sure that you help where you can.
Yes.
Where you can't, you can't
Sure.
help. Yeah.
Well, it goes back to that boundary setting thing, isn't it? I mean, you have to know what you can do and what you cannot do. But there's a guilt involved, isn't there? There's like a pressure and a guilt. You've made it. Now you owe me,
It's very tough. I mean, it's very difficult to say I can set boundaries. You can set boundaries, but how do you set those boundaries and not get the flack in terms of you think you are better now because you've got this, you're driving this kind of car, you're living in this kind of neighborhood, now you've forgotten about us. So you really have to find a way to balance how you say no and how you really help where you can, So it's quite tricky. Yeah, it's quite tricky.
Yeah, it's a real challenge, man. And I mean, it really moves to the pressures that men face, doesn't it? There's a real pressure on men to provide, to protect, to be the man. And I mean, and often those pressures are quite destructive, and I think we often deal with that alone, don't we?
I mean, look. As a man, sometimes you don't have any outlet. So you're dealing with a lot. You have to provide for like the whole community, not only your family, but
Right.
the whole community. So how when you can, it's fine. But when you can't, that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
When you can't, who do you talk to? Where do you go? How
Right.
do you deal with you being unable to, to provide?
Yeah.
So it's quite complicated.
It's a real challenge.
It is.
And I mean, how do you deal with the emotional issues, the psychological issues, the pressure, all the things that are a part? Every man has this. But I think particularly when you suddenly become a celebrity and you are the man in the community, these pressures are even worse, aren't they? So, I mean, what helps you mentally to navigate this emotion?
I think, I would say I was one of the lucky, sportsmen. When I retired, I got involved with, people that were mentors, people that, wanted to develop men, I got involved in the development world where I was also trying to find myself as well because I was lost, when I was a footballer, you get lost in all this glamour and sometimes you don't really know who you are. So I was very lucky that I managed to meet people at the end of my career that really, supported me, guided me in terms of how to develop others, how to, to stay grounded and, become, somebody and use a lot of empathy and in whatever that you do, So, that really helped me to shape, my path. And here I am today. I'm still relevant. I'm still doing what I love to do, the development work where I help youngsters, where I help men, So, I think I was at a right spot at the right time when I retired,
Well, it just shows the incredible importance of mentors, doesn't it? Of male mentors. The research has shown internationally, not just South Africa, that most men are lonely. We have someone that we can watch a game with, drink a beer with, hang out with, but we don't really have men who truly see us, truly know us, know the challenges, the struggles we go through, and men that are able to help us to navigate those. And as brothers, we help each other, we support each other, we do that. I love the work you're doing now, and I think there's so much synergy between what you do and what I do. You're working with men. It's been very much in the HIV sector. The stats are that millions of men in South Africa have HIV, but they're not taking their treatment. What are some of the things you've discovered around the reasons for that and how you can help these men?
I think the first thing that I think men need to realize is that vulnerability is not a weakness.
Right.
It is a strength.
Yeah.
So if you are vulnerable, you are able to connect.
Right.
So we've lost the connection, the connecting aspect of life. Yeah. We pretend to each other. We want people to see how strong you are, how tough you are, how successful you are. Yeah. But, within that, you really, that's, I've heard, I've spoken to someone and the other day was telling me that there is a woman in every man, which means, you need to have that soft,
the ability to be vulnerable,
so that you are able to deal with yourself. Because once, you don't become vulnerable, then that means,
you carry all that pressure.
Definitely. So you end up making a lot of mistakes because vulnerability puts you in a place where you really become yourself.
Fantastic.
And you deal with yourself. So in the work that I do, we use vulnerability as something that you can use to connect with others.
Right.
So once you are able to connect with anyone, they'll give you whatever you want. Yeah. They'll tell you everything that is going on.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the work that I do with men living with HIV, once you start talking about your own journey, you open up that.
You give permission to them. Eh?
Definitely. And it's so amazing how they become so vulnerable with you, so that they can talk about all the dark things that they've gone through. And it becomes a beautiful relationship that,
And often it's the first time they've ever had the permission to do that.
Definitely.
It's opening up something they've never had the opportunity to do.
So we create a space where, you become yourself.
Right.
Where you are not judged, where you are just yourself. You become a little boy again.
Fantastic.
And it gives them a chance to be reborn again and become themselves.
And having a strong successful man like yourself also sharing vulnerability, it really helps to do that. Because you're not a weak man. You're not a failure in any way. I mean, you've had a tremendous career, tremendous success. You're still strong, big, and leading the way in that is very powerful. You've seen tremendous results in that, haven't you?
Look, I have got a group of like 500 men in the country that I've trained to become coaches, but coaching people, other men that are struggling with HIV. So that gives you that brotherhood that even if I'm in Kaelicha today, my coach is like a phone call away.
Fantastic.
So I have brothers all over the place.
Yeah.
So this program has really made me realize that we are all the same.
Yeah.
We just need to find each other and talk about the things that we struggle with and find ways to deal with them.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this HIV coaching thing in Namibia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Guatemala, so all these places, I mean, it's brothers that are dealing with the same main issues of not talking, of not opening up, of struggling with, being a man, So it really shows you that we are all the same. It's just that we are in different places where, we don't know how to deal with ourselves.
Well, this manhood thing is universal, isn't it? I often say to men that, in some ways, we have more in common as men with the men in Russia, China, wherever, than we do with our own wives. Because there's a masculinity, a manhood thing, a pressure on us, the things that drive us that are common to all mankind. And it's beautiful that we can move towards building a band of brothers. For me, there are 4 crucial elements to brotherhood. Number one is to be open and honest and vulnerable, what you've been talking about, to truly see each other. The work we do, even in corporates, we get men to tell their stories. And often a man will say, I've worked with this guy for 10 years, but I didn't know him. I didn't know his story. I didn't know the challenges, the hassles, the triumphs, the tragedies. I didn't know his true heart. I just saw the man I worked with, And I think that's what you're saying, isn't it, Silver, that when you get men to tell their stories, absolute magic happens.
At the beginning of the research that we did, working with men put a mask, a certain character that they are fearless. They can do anything. So if you remove that mask, that's where you see the real men that you are dealing with,
and that's where healing takes place.
Definitely, that's where you see brothers. That's where you see, the real men that you are dealing with.
Right.
So we don't need to walk with every day with this mask that we are tough.
We don't.
We don't need to be ourselves.
But society puts a lot of pressure on men. And it's not just men putting pressure on men. It's women putting pressure on men too, isn't it? It's women, expecting the man to do this, to do that, to be the provider, to pay the bills. How can we change that in society? I mean, this is a major problem.
It's very interesting that you're saying that, because I remember even growing up, my mother telling me that, why are you crying like a woman? And I'm like, so from there, you can actually see that your mother will shape who you become, because you are not allowed to cry.
Yeah.
Girls are allowed to cry. Girls are allowed to show emotions.
Right.
As a guy, you're not.
Yeah.
If a boy beats you up in the streets, go back and beat him up.
Yeah.
You can't
take it like
here.
a man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are the things that really shape, men to be what they are, because they can't show emotions.
Right.
So it's a big of a problem.
It's big, You think about the lies that we get told growing up as men. For me, there are 4 big lies. Sex. You're judged as a man by how many sexual partners you can have. The more you have, the more of a man you are. It's a big lie, isn't it? Power, you have to be powerful, whether it's physical power, whatever. And the more power you have, the more of a man. Money, the car you drive defines the man you are. And then that final one, big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to unpack with you those 4 lies, So you talk about sex, we all grew up thinking, the more partners I can have, the more sexual exploits, that's what defines me. But the reality is, a true man is judged by his fidelity, his faithfulness, his ability to be true to one woman.
One woman, yeah.
Isn't that the case?
Unfortunately, it's very true. And I wouldn't say I'm a victim of that, but I would say I was a victim of that lie.
Yes.
To say, the number of girlfriends that you have define who you are. Every day you change a girl. You have 7 girls in a week, those kind of things. We're going to play in Bloemfontein. You just make a call to say, we are coming to Bloemfontein, and you will find, 21 girls waiting for you as a team.
Right.
And you do whatever you do that night after that game, you forget about them, Next week you're going to Durban, the same thing.
Right.
So, but as you grow up, as you mature and understand, why what you are doing and how you are doing it, you realize, this is not worth it.
It's destructive, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's demeaning to the woman and to yourself.
And can you imagine, in that trail of whatever that you're doing, you're leaving a child there.
A child and perhaps a broken heart.
Exactly.
Or certainly a woman who's given to you her intimate best and you've
taken
abandoned
it away
that and just taken it for granted. Yeah, it's destructive. So, sex does not make a man.
It doesn't.
It does
not at all.
Absolutely.
It doesn't.
The ability to say no, the ability to be committed and loyal and faithful to one partner is, and I think all of us have struggled with that. I look back at my past too. It's something we've all struggled with as men.
Yeah.
Because the lie is you need that to be a man.
To be a man, to be this guy, in the community, you have to show it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's got consequences.
Consequences.
Here we are dealing with men that are living with HIV because of those kind of, things.
And the woman that they've infected as well.
Definitely.
And spiritually it has an impact. Emotionally it has an impact. Physically,
sure.
In terms of children. There are just so many. The one guy said that, never awaken desire in a woman unless you're prepared to go through with a long-term commitment. And that's the truth, isn't it? That's the truth.
It is.
And if we jump to the issue of power and money, power and money does not make a man, does it?
It does.
Power and money is good to have. We need money, but you're not, one of the beautiful stories I heard was a woman who had reached the pinnacle of her career as a magistrate. And someone asked her, what do you attribute your success to? And she said, my father. And she said, we grew up in a very poor household. In fact, many years we lived in a shack.
Sure.
But every morning when I got up, my dad had got up before me, boiled water for me to wash. He was there when I came back from school. And she said he was a poor man, but he left behind the richest legacy. And I love that story, isn't it? We're living in a world, in a country where so many men are unemployed, so many men don't have the financial resources, but they can still step up and be a true man.
The challenge with that is that, society has changed that to saying if you cannot throw money at your family, then
you're not a man.
You're not a man.
Yeah.
But all what the kids need is your time as a
100%. Yeah.
Time is the most important thing that you can give to your children.
Your presence, your engagement,
presence,
your being there.
Guidance, you are there for them, when they need you. That's the most important gift you can give.
Powerful. And if you go back to this brotherhood thing, I mentioned 4 things. The number one is the ability to be vulnerable, open, true, authentic. Even your daughter. I have a daughter. We if she sees you shed a tear, she knows that you're human. You need to be strong when the time is there to be strong. But you also need to be able to show the emotion. The second one for me, Silver, and I'd love to have your input on this, is for us to honor each other as brothers. I think the love language of many men is to rip each other off, to tease each other,
definitely, beat each other up,
etc. But for me to say, hey, Silver, brother, I truly respect and admire the journey you've had, and just honor you. We don't do that enough to each other, do we?
Look, I think this is all based on, the fact that I have to be better than you. And if I admire you, then it means I'm weak. I'm not,
right.
I'm not, at your level. So if I'm going to go down and say you are better than me, then it means I'm not good of a man. Exactly. Yeah. So, but I think if we can honor each other as men and admire our talents and our gifts, we'll be able to,
Build
to
each other
help
up.
each other, lift each other up. Because
Yes.
if you look at the things that I might have, you won't have them.
Yes.
So you will have something that I don't have.
Right.
And if we put those things together, they can make us a force to be reckoned
Well,
with.
that's true brotherhood, isn't it? I mean, soccer is a brilliant example of that. You need the goalkeeper, you need the defenders, you need the link in the midfield, you need the striker, the wings.
wingers that are going to bring all those crosses
Absolutely.
and you score.
Yeah.
So that's
life.
That's life.
That's
you
brotherhood.
Can't do
that's
it
life.
on your own.
No, you can't.
You can't.
And I mean, the worst teams in the world are the teams who don't pass, aren't they? They might have 11 gifted players.
Yeah.
If they don't pass, they're going to lose.
Look at Real Madrid now. Very good example. They've got all the talent in the world.
Yeah.
But they struggle to teams that are just teams that are, that have got hard workers.
Cohesive.
Teams that are not even that talented at all. Look at what Arsenal did to them.
Yeah.
On Wednesday. So
exactly. It's not about individualism.
It's not about individuals. It's not about the amount of money that you earn. It's about what you can do on the field of play at the end of the day. So
And that's a great metaphor for life, isn't it? We as brothers need each other.
We need each other.
I need you, you need me. You bring stuff I don't have, I bring stuff you don't have. And we, and I mean, that leads me to the fourth point with brotherhood, which is to sharpen each other. There's a lovely biblical verse that iron sharpens iron,
Definitely.
And so I sharpen you as a man, you sharpen me as a man. I can see things in you that, maybe you're going down the wrong road, and I can say, hey, brother Silver, you can do the same for me.
Definitely.
And the more we do that to each other, we bring out the best in each other. We cut off the, if you see me, I'm a married man. If you see me looking at another woman, and going, you can say, hey, Craig, brother,
come back,
come back, and that is such a tremendous gift to me. And we can do that to each other. So this issue of sharpen each other,
I think we've lost, the sense of, calling each other out.
Yeah.
Because if I call Craig out, he'll be angry with me. He's no longer going to be my friend. But a true friend is somebody who will
100%.
tell you the truth.
100%.
So we've lost that because if I don't have Craig, then it means I'll lose out on a lot.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest with Craig will always be my friend.
100%.
So, I mean, we need to call each other out so that we become stronger together and see the way to go, because if we, like what is happening with, GBV and all, it's people that we know. I know that my neighbor is beating up his wife.
But you're not saying anything.
But I'm not saying anything. I know my brother is abusing his wife or his girlfriend, but I'm not doing anything about it. So I turn a blind eye. But if I can call my brother out, he will know that whatever that I'm doing,
it's not acceptable. And I'm not going to accept it. And I think that's what we need to say as men, not on my watch.
Yeah.
These things don't happen on my watch, whether it's corruption, racism, sexism, abuse, not on my watch, And if we do that to each other as brothers, man, we'll hold each other to such a high standard, and we'll achieve the best that we can possibly do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we are where we are, even if you look at, our government. I mean, look at the corruption. We can see who's doing what in the township, who's doing whatever, who's stealing the cars, who's doing. It's all our brothers and sisters, we know them, but we're not doing anything about it.
Right.
So, because we are benefiting from it.
Right.
So there's that as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, we need to hold each other accountable.
Truth.
Yeah.
Truth, man. And the final thing for me, Silver, is for us as men to support each other, to be there for each other. To be, how many of us have brothers we can call at 3 a.m, we're out of town, our wife is scared, we can give him a phone call and say, please will you go and check on my wife, and trust that he'll get up, he'll go there, and he's trustworthy. I mean, for us as brothers to support each other. You must have experienced as a celebrity, fair weather friends, friends that are there because you can pay for all the beers, you can, you want friends that are there no matter what you're going through,
Lately, it's been what I can get out of you.
Yeah.
If there's something that I gain from you, I'll wake up at 3 o'clock. But if there's nothing that I can gain from you, I'll never wake up.
Yeah.
So we really need to come to a point where we become so genuine with each other that, no matter, I'm not benefiting anything, but I'm there for you.
Fantastic.
That is true brotherhood. That is true friendship. Yeah.
So how do we cultivate in South Africa this culture of brotherhood? where men are calling each other out, where men are honoring each other, where men are supporting each other, where men are able to be vulnerable to each other. I mean, the work you do in creating these coaches around is helping. But we need to change the culture, don't we, of manhood?
I think we really need to, because if we cannot like do this by calling a national men's day or whatever. This is something that you do on a daily basis.
On the ground.
On the ground, every day, you have this group of men that you mentor, men that you talk honestly with. It starts with honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest and being that guy that somebody can come to and be vulnerable and tell you, everything that they're going through and walk away okay.
Yeah.
Be that guy that a man will come to you, cry, and you don't laugh at him.
Yeah.
You cry with him and you're there for him. It begins with just one man.
Absolutely. Which needs to be you and me.
Exactly.
We start. I mean, to the men listening in on this, what would you say to them to say, you this is what a real man is?
A definition of man it's very difficult to actually put, in words, but be the person that you want to be. Yeah. And when I talk about fatherhood, you are not the father that you think you are. You are the father that your kids think you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So be that guy that the next person that you sit and talk to, be that person that they think you are.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Be real, be authentic, be dependable, be there. Don't judge yourself by the car you drive, the woman you're with. Judge yourself by your character, I mean, these are the attributes of real masculinity. Mm-hmm. And it's so wonderful talking, man, because, we both had a journey. And that journey, every one of our journeys as men has triumphs, tragedies, disappointments, regrets, things we've screwed up monumentally on, people we've hurt, etc. But the key is to learn from every one of those experiences.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because sometimes learning from your own mistakes is the best thing because you've experienced it. Yeah. You know exactly what has happened. Yeah. So, and what you do after that is what is very important.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's also important to speak to the woman in our lives because, I often say to men, to women, the thing that men want most from women is not what they think it is. It's not sex. What we crave and desire most from women is respect. As men, we need respect. And I think that's why so many men are struggling in this country. When you don't have a job, when you don't have the money, you lose all self-respect and you lose the respect of society. So when a woman says to you, Craig, look at Silver, he's got this car, you don't. I mean, that destroys a man, doesn't it? And for women to bring out the best in men, it's to call out the best in them and to show, if you call a man trash, it destroys him. And chances are he's going to pitch up in a very bad fashion.
Definitely. I mean, I think women play a huge role in a man's life.
Yeah.
Like you just said, I mean, respect is everything. I mean, if a woman affirms you, tells you that you are the best every day, you will wake up tomorrow morning and you'll be that best.
100%.
That you are.
100%.
But if a woman tells you you are nothing, the next morning you'll be that nothing person that they have told you to be.
Powerful.
So women should really, understand that all we need is just their support.
Yeah.
That's it.
And their affirmation. I love that. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Definitely. I mean, if we go out to the world and hustle and do whatever that we do, you come home to this warm, home where, there's warm food, there's warm everything. It really makes you feel that, you know what, you are the man.
Yeah.
You will wake up tomorrow morning, you want to go and do much more than what you did yesterday.
Fantastic.
But if the house is not warm, there is always fights, there is always disrespect.
Yeah, it's going to bring out the worst in you. It's going to bring out the... we always say there's never, ever an excuse for any kind of violence or abuse, physical against a woman. Never, ever, ever. And yet women are tremendously powerful in our lives they have the power to make us feel good about ourselves or bad about ourselves, and to bring out the best or to really bring out the worst.
Look, women are powerful human beings. They don't know the power that they possess.
Yeah.
Because women are making decisions for this country. Women are making decisions for every man.
Mm-hmm.
If I can tell you, if a man can tell you that a woman never tells me anything, they are lying. Because decisions that we make in our lives, they are based on how women shape that.
Right.
Because every time I come home, I had a fight with my director. Who is the first person that I tell?
Mm-hmm.
My partner.
Yeah.
I had a bad day today.
Yeah.
I had a fight with Craig. This is what 1, 2, 3. This is what he did. This is what he said.
And her response has a big impact on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She will make me do exactly what we discussed last night. And if I do that, things will change.
Yeah.
Definitely. So they must understand that they play a huge role, whether bad or good.
100%. And that role is not, the power that women have is not physical power. It's emotional power, psychological power, the power of the tongue, the lip, what they say, how they engage with you. And so I think, power is given to us to use responsibly.
Yeah.
For us as men, we have physical strength, and we are mandated to use that only for good, to protect, to love, never ever to harm. And the power that women have is in the power of the tongue, the power of the emotion.
Definitely.
And the mandate to women is to use that in such a way that it brings out the best in people, both in women and in men.
Definitely. I mean, for a woman to conceive a child, carry them for 9 months, that's a serious responsibility that God has given to a woman.
Yeah.
And that person can make or break you.
100%.
So we really need to respect women and make sure that we give them the platform to express themselves.
Right.
And, guide us, because they guide us, because they made us who we are.
There's tremendous
wisdom. So to see men actually abusing them and doing all this, it's so sad. Because this is the person who held you for 9 months, who breastfed you, who clothed you, who bathed you, who did everything for you.
Nurtured you emotionally, physically.
Exactly. And become this powerful man that you are.
Yeah.
So it's sad that, we see men killing women, and
it's devastating. Well, I mean, the message is, Silver, is that we need to be wonderful brothers to each other.
Yeah.
Support, love, care, be honest, be authentic, sharpen, call out. And we need to be excellent fathers to our children and excellent partners to our wives and to our partners. And the better we are as men, the better society will be.
For sure.
If men are good men, we wouldn't need a police force.
we won't need guns. We won't need everything that we say we want to protect each other with. We won't need all that, because you will have brothers that are looking out for you, and brothers who will be there for you when you're not there, who will look after your family when you're not there. So I don't know what we need to do for this country, but I think there needs to be a shift around the responsibilities of men.
Yeah.
The
brotherhood of man can literally save the world, can save our nations, our family, and for you and I think this is what I love so much about you and the work you do. And I mean, we had an instant affinity, a connection when we met. We saw a brother who's fighting the same fight, seeking the same outcome. And we just want to call out to all the brothers out there to step up and be a good brother, be a good father, good man, good husband, good citizen. Just be a good man.
Definitely. I think also it depends on the way we relate.
Yeah.
Once people see how you relate to another man, it changes everything.
It does, yeah.
So it takes one man to the other to see the change that you want to see. But we are, by all means, we are trying to work apart from each other instead of working together. So it's.
There's a very interesting concept about masculinity. People see competition as a bad thing, and yet, for you and I as men, let's say we have an arm wrestle. It's a competition.
It is,
but it strengthens us.
Definitely.
And it does, as long as it doesn't, there's no sense of domination and I'm better than you. The more we are able to compete, the more we're able to strengthen each other. We need each other to compete.
Definitely.
So competition's actually a positive. It's a good thing. Pirates and Chiefs. I mean, that's a competition that goes back many. And it arouses many emotions. But it's a good thing because each team is better because of the competition.
Because of the other, yes.
Yeah. So we as men can compete, but in a healthy, positive manner.
Definitely.
It makes us better.
Definitely.
It doesn't make us want to kill each other. It makes us want to improve each other.
That's for sure.
And so these masculine qualities, the controlled aggression, the competition, the drive, these are excellent things if we use them well, aren't they?
They are. One thing that people don't understand is like when you're talking about, the competition between, teams. I mean, if you look at these players, on the field, like Pirates and Chiefs, they kick each other on the field. But at the end of the day, when everybody has gone home, these guys hang out together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They share beer. Yeah. They share this.
They respect each other.
They respect each other. They hang out together. They are friends.
They appreciate each other.
Exactly. Yeah. But now the problem now that that the society don't see is that these guys are actually friends.
Yeah.
It's
not a war.
It's not a war, but now the supporters becomes a war to the supporters. I mean, I witnessed, Sundowns playing, a Champions League game where, supporters starting fighting each other. It's only a sport, it's only a game.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through that, So,
but I think, Silver, one of the issues there is that men don't have a life of their own. They depend on their team to represent their life. When their team loses, their whole life falls apart. So for us as men to find our purpose, our vision, and it doesn't mean you need lots of money or a car. It means be a good father, be a good man, be a good husband, be a good citizen, be a good community member. Because then you have a life. And It doesn't matter if your team wins or loses. Yes, you feel emotion,
For sure.
But it's not the whole life because you have your own life.
You win and you lose.
Yeah.
So.
But you have a life outside of the game.
Outside of the game, definitely.
Yeah. We're not defined by our partners, by our jobs, by our car, by the clothes we wear. We're defined by the character of who we are as men and the difference we make to the world.
Definitely. So, but life is, it's a journey.
It's a challenging journey.
And there's no manual for life, So, you learn every day. It's how you learn from your experiences and how you take those experiences and share with others, so that they can,
But, just to close off, the world needs us as men, and the world needs us to be our best. And, honor to you. I salute you. You're dangerous to toxic masculinity. I would say that to you. You're dangerous to that.
No, thank you.
You're dangerous to abuse.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you, man.
No, thank you very much. It was really an honor to be on your show. And I hope that, whatever that we spoke about today has touched another man out there at a corner somewhere in the world. They're going to see this as something that they can take forward and help the next man and be a better man, be a better father, better uncle, better brother.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.